Hi guys, I'm Vagisha and I'm back to my channel after a long time, and as many of you were waiting to see my review on Femina Miss India 2022, so I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions of all the segments of the finale, and I cannot wait to just hear your opinions on what you feel about the pageant's finale. And let's get started. So the very first segment of the entire pageant was the dances of India, and I must say that Femina Miss India has been able to put up a humongous show whenever it comes to the telecast. The show is amazing. The stage is set up so brilliantly and the choreography is on point. I really enjoyed watching the Dances of India segment because it showcased different costumes as well as the musical preferences of each of the regions, and I really observed some of the girls in the crowd like Cine Shetty. She was shining beautifully right since the beginning, and I must say that this time the pageant's batch was not that competitive, and if we look at the set of winners, I was very much impressed with the top three, and all of the winners who have clinched the runner-up and the winner title. I was super impressed with each of them's performances in the finale. We'll talk about it more in detail, but let's get started with Dances of India. If you look at the stage and if you look at the setting of the lighting and everything in the background, everything was very mindfully planned, and the entire segment was filled with energy. Now let's come to the host of the event. It was Manish Paul. Although he did a decent job and he may appeal to a large Indian mass when it comes to the common Indian public. They know him well and he's a familiar face in every Indian household. But when it comes to pageants, the pageant fan and me still like someone who is like Sachin Kumbar, and I was very much hoping for Sachin Kumbar to make a comeback to the pageant finale as a host because he's fabulous when it comes to hosting. So anyway, going ahead, I really love the farewell speech of each of the outgoing title holder of Femina Miss India, and this is something which I had been hoping for since many editions. If you look at the speech of Manasa Varanasi or the runners-up who are outgoing as the reigning title holder, I was very much happy that they were given the space which they deserve. They walked on the stage, and although it seemed to be a pre-recorded thing, but both of all the three winners, they were given beautiful introduction videos which was playing in the background, and I must say that this is something which we need. The work which they do throughout their reign, it needs to get certain recognition and it needs to be acknowledged. So in that way, I really enjoyed watching the beginning of the show by giving importance to each and every candidate who won the title last year. Now, Manasa also hosted the show for the latter part, and I must say I was super impressed by the beautiful face she has. I loved her styling. The green gown she was wearing, it was fantastic, and she looked angelic in all her charm and aura. Now it was time for the dance performance in the show, and I must say that I'm not a fan of the dance performance at all in the pageant shows. When I watch international pageants, I'm quite impressed with the kind of music artists they bring to the finale. But when it comes to Femina Miss India, it's usually the Bollywood stars or maybe the dancers who are well known to Indian public, and that is totally fine to appeal the Indian masses because they cannot relate to the perspective of pageants in India that exclusively as a pageant fan does. But I completely do not enjoy watching the dance performances, especially when it is too loud. I really do not enjoy it, so I just skipped that part when I was watching the finale. Thereafter, the girls walked in Rohit Gandhi and Rahul Khanna's evening gown, and all of the gowns were beautiful. They were fantastic. Each of the girl was given accurate timing and stage presence at that time, and the stage was beautifully set up. The runway was quite long and it gave the impression of an international pageant, so I really enjoyed watching that segment. These kind of gowns were quite new and different to the edition of Femina Miss India, but I must say that they all were quite striking in nature. And thereafter, the top 10 was announced, and Rajasthan Rubal Shekhawat was the first one to be called out. and I must say that I am so blown away by the beauty and mesmerizing charm this lady brings on the stage. I mean, her face is $1,000,000, and if not any pageant, I would wait for her to make a comeback and go and represent India at Miss Universe, because that face is amazing. She is beautiful. The next lady to be called up was Cine Shetty from Karnataka, and she was quite graceful and calm in her aura, as if she knew that she's going to make it, and she did. Thereafter, Amisha Thakur from Himachal Pradesh made it, and she had a decent stage presence. I was expecting Gargi Nandi from Meghalaya to make it, and she was the fourth one to be called in the top 10. And thereafter, we had Sai Likita, who also won Beauty with a Purpose award. And if you have seen my previous video, when I watched her profile, I was quite impressed with the kind of work which she was doing with respect to the philanthropic causes. So it was not a surprise to me. Later on, we had Sabirai, and she seemed to be very cute and simple. Thereafter, we had Shanata Chohan from Uttar Pradesh, and now there is a fun fact, when Shanata competed for her very first pageant, she was competing for a teen pageant under India Exquisite pageant. I was a jury there, and I have seen her grow, leaps and bounds in all these years. It has been 6 years, when I have observed her in that pageant, and she has grown since then. I really love the spontaneity she brings into the picture, and she is very natural, very vivacious and bubbly. So I was quite happy to see her making it to top 10, and I knew she would advance further. Thereafter, we had Disha Patil, and she also auditioned last year, but she couldn't make it, and this time she made a comeback, and bang, she was at top 10. Later on, we had Praganya Ayageri. I'm so in love with this beautiful, cute little lady, and she is like a doll, She has a beautiful stage presence, and she fits very well for a pageant like Miss Supranational. Now, my state, Chhattisgarh, the representative from my state was Shekhawat Sehgal, and she made it to top 10. I was quite happy about that. And then it was the round for the top 10 statement round, and let's start with the first candidate. It was Shekhawat Sehgal from Chhattisgarh, and she sounded quite rehearsed in that segment. Thereafter, we had Maharashtra, Disha Patil, and she sounded natural, but somehow I would feel that she lacked that vibrance, that energy which is needed, to make a mark felt. That was missing somewhere. That maybe led to, her elimination in the further round. Thereafter, we had Haryana Sabirai, and she listed on all her qualities, as well as, gave a good background about her life, and this was the reason maybe that she shined very beautifully in the round, in my opinion. Then we had Meghalaya Gargi Nandi, and she was the only flag bearer of the Northeast zone. So she nailed it. I would say that she killed it, and I was quite sure that she would make it to top 5, because she had that power in her voice, she had that command, she had that authority, to shine. So I really loved her. And then thereafter we had Karnataka, Cine Shetty, and she gave a power-packed speech. She was clearly the best. If you watch the finale, you would find that she is the one candidate who stands out in all the rounds, even when there is no competition going on, when the candidates are making appearances on the stage. She really stands out beautifully in each of the rounds. If you look at the careful selection she made while greeting the audience, she started by speaking in her native language, and I would say that really worked in her favor. I really loved her smile and her stage presence. She had a beautiful walk, and the way she waved at the camera while walking down the runway, it was beautiful, and it caught my attention. If you talk about the next candidate, Rajasthan, Rubal, Shekhawat, she might be not a great speaker, but hey, if you look at her face, you cannot just stop looking at her. So in that way, you just want to keep looking at her for a more longer time, and she had that charm to stand out. So maybe that is why she advanced further. The next candidate to make it was Amisha Thakur from Himachal Pradesh. She had a sweet presence, and she talked more about family. Personally, I would say my suggestion to the candidates who are willing to participate in pageants, when you give too much details about your family, maybe the jury might feel zoned out, and they want to know more about you as a candidate, about you as a person, and they do not know anything particularly about your family. and maybe that can repel them from knowing you better. So it's important to highlight your intrinsic qualities, and it's good to value your family and talk about them. And that it should not hamper your presence, and it should not hamper the jury from knowing you as a better candidate. The next candidate to make it to the opening statement was Sai Likita from Andhra Pradesh. She spoke very well with flair and she had clarity of thoughts, but maybe because of the accent that she was not that natural, and maybe that is why she couldn't foray ahead in the pageant despite of winning one of the most significant title of Beauty with a Purpose. So maybe that is something which might have ruined her chance to advance ahead. Thereafter, we had Shanata Chohan from Uttar Pradesh, and when I listened to her, there was not even one single thing which could have made me think that she could have done this in a better way. She was very natural, and I really loved her stage presence. Lastly, we had Praganya Ayageri from Telangana, and she is so cute and sweet, as I said in the beginning of the video, and she was very relatable when she was talking. It seemed like she is a girl next door, and whatever she was saying, I could easily believe in it, and I was completely impressed by her thoughts, her stage presence, and her beautiful innocence. Her naivety was something, which added cherry to the cake. So I really loved her in the segment, and it was at this point when she solidified her spot for the top 5 position. When the top 5 finalists were announced in the pageant, it somehow reminded me of Miss World 2017 grand finale, when the candidates were standing in the backstage and they were calling one by one each of the candidates who would join the list of top 5. And the first candidate to be called was Gargi Nandi from Meghalaya, and I was very much happy to see her because she was the flag bearer of East, and she solidified her spot in top 5 because she was quite authoritative and she was quite commanding in her voice and her thoughts in the previous round. Thereafter, we had Telangana and Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So now I would just share my thoughts on the top 5 question and answer round, the final round, which led to the crowning of the title holders. So let's get started with that. So starting with Meghalaya, it came as a surprise to me why she couldn't give her best in that particular segment, because she nailed it in the previous segment and I was expecting her to do great. And she was asked a question about social media validation, which I feel that she answered it quite accurately, but the answer somehow seemed quite incomplete to me. But when we look at the pageant, there are multiple edits, multiple cuts. So I don't know if it is the case of edit or whether it is the case of an incomplete answer by the candidate herself. So that was something which came as a surprise to me because she spoke very well in the previous round. The next candidate was, of course, our reigning Miss World India, Cine Shetty from Karnataka, and she had a great chemistry with Dino Moria, the judge who asked her the question. And I would say that she made use of that 30-second very wisely, because she made sure that she has a comfortable connection with the jury who's going to ask her the question. And she sounded very natural, very spontaneous. She had a very calm smile on her face, and they both shared the same native place, which is Bangalore. And she seemed very comfortable and poised with a whole body language and aura. So she was asked a very intelligent question, whether she thinks that abortion is a fundamental right of a woman. And the way she answered the question, I would say that it was beautiful. She started very mindfully, by stating a storytelling kind of POV. And then she shared her personal as well as the society's opinion on what they feel on the same issue. And especially when she said that the world would be the better place for both men and women to live in. I think that is what made her win the crown at that very moment. It was a very well stated and very beautifully opinionated statement, and I would say that she sealed the deal with that answer. The third candidate to make it to the top 5 question and answer round was Rajasthan Rubal Shekhawat, and she looked a little bit nervous, as if she knew that speaking was not her, the best skill which was out there. And she looked very beautiful, very queenly, very royal, like the state she's representing, Rajasthan. And she was asked a question about gender inequality. She spoke very well. She said that if this question is asked, even that itself is an authentic factor why we need to ask about inequality. And she lacked command and power in her voice. The way she answered the question could have been better, but the content of the answer was quite good and on point. So if she went on to win the first runner-up title, that is quite justified here. And later on, the next candidate to make it to top 5 and answer the final question and answer round was Shinata Chohan from Uttar Pradesh. And she was very spontaneous, bubbly and vivacious. And she was asked a question on body shaming. And she answered the question with complete conviction, with power, with authority in her voice. She was very natural and bold at that moment. She was soft and poised at one hand, but at the same time, she was quite authoritative, quite appealingly confident about what she was saying. So, all in all, I really liked her answer, and the way she answered it, I was quite impressed with the way she handled the question. But we have to understand that it's never about, the final question and answer round which makes you win the crown. So it's more about how you handle yourself throughout the competition. There are so many factors which we as an audience can never see. And every day you're competing there with the other girls, and so many factors are evaluated in deciding who is potential candidate to represent India internationally. So I don't really know what actually went wrong with Shanata Chohan, why she couldn't win it. And maybe it's something related to the brand value as well. Because when I have had a conversation with many of the pageant organizers or national directors, not necessarily Femina Miss India, but many of them, they believe in having a new face as the brand ambassador. And since she was making a comeback, this could have been one of the reasons why she was not selected, and maybe they wanted a fresh face. This is, one of my opinions. It might not be the same reason why she wasn't appointed as the Miss World India. So there might be certain, apprehensions on the part of the national director, or maybe the organization, or maybe the sponsors. So we'll never get to know that. But somehow, she was quite good and she gave her best performance that night. The last girl to make it to top 5 final question and answer round, and see, I'm fumbling, because I'm so engrossed and I so want to speak about her. And I was so happy to see her whole performance is Miss Telangana, Praganya Ayageri. First of all, her name is very sweet. Second, she's adorable, like, a teenage girl. She is adorable. She's very cute, very sweet. And her aura reminds me of my students, whom I teach. So basically, I enjoyed seeing her giggling, and she looked very humble, very down to earth. Her whole body language screamed, gratefulness. I really loved seeing her in the top 5, and she was completely being grateful about the situation, about the position she was placed in at that given point of time. So all in all, we all know the results that Cine Shetty went on to win the crown of Miss World India. Then we had Rubal Shekhawat as the runner-up and Shinata Chohan as the second runner-up. If we talk about the future prospect, I was very saddened by the fact that Femina Miss India organization does not have the franchisee of any other pageant. I mean, look at the faces of Shanata or Rubal, both of them are quality candidates and they both deserve a pageant. And this really saddens me that they don't have an international pageant to send them to. And which is why I'm hoping and expecting, to see Rubal Shekhawat at Miss Universe. Her face is remarkable. She has an impeccable sense of styling. And I feel that if she goes on to represent India at Miss Universe, not only she will gain a great placement, but maybe, who knows, she can even go on to win the title. We never know, with extensive training. And if we talk about the future prospects of the newly crowned Miss World India, Cine Shetty, I think she is very poised, very calm and humble. Her whole aura fits very well into a pageant like Miss World. And considering that Femina Miss India organization has a very strong team to groom their candidates, I feel that Cine Shetty will do very well in a pageant like Miss World, and they have a great time to prepare for the pageant itself. So that is all from my side. That is what I think about the whole pageant, Femina Miss India 2022. And I feel really excited, and now I feel comfortable to be talking at ease to the camera because I had taken a break from YouTube and social media after my wedding, and I really wanted to absorb the family time. So now I feel quite happy to interact with you, and I cannot promise when I'll be coming back with another video, since there must be certain good topics, to come back to YouTube with a good video. So I'll be having a look at the other national pageants which are ongoing, like Miss Earth India is ongoing, I believe, and Miss International India. They are shortlisting certain candidates. So I would love to follow those pageants and bring out my opinion to you very soon in the coming videos. So let me know what you want to see on my channel and what do you feel about Femina Miss India 2022 grand finale. Thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't subscribed this channel already, please go ahead and do so, so you get notified every time I put up a video on my channel. And also follow me on Instagram and other social media platforms. I'll be very pleased to see my family growing. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.